Man, I still have fond memories. That first time I booted up Mafia Definite Edition back in 2020. I can still recall just sitting there and watching that opening scene of Lost Heaven lit up the screen. You know, that one where Tommy is waiting to tell his life story to that copper. And then I just knew this was gonna be special. These days there are so many remakes and so many of them really do manage to miss the spot. But this wasn't just another remake. It was a very well crafted revival, and it was one of the gaming's greatest crime stories ever told. And at the time, really, it was pure class. But hey, okay, yeah, now it's 2025 and that was then. A lot has changed, gaming's changed. Open worlds feel more alive, the combat is faster, the AI is smarter. So I have to ask myself, so how does Mafia Definite Edition hold up? Does it still manage to capture my imagination as it did then? Will it be still modern enough considering the somewhat dated graphics and engine it is running on? I guess that's what we all want to know, if we were to consider picking this game up again or if we were thinking of playing this one for the first time. And in order to find that out, I decided to break it down. I've got 6 key things lined up that made this game a classic. And I want to find out whether they still hit the same note today. First up, it's the reason this game still sticks with me and really pulled me in. It's the story. So yeah, let's talk about what made Mafia DE so extremely engaging. Of course, the story. And it's like they say, a good story is timeless, and man does it apply for this one.
What do they call you, son?
Thomas. Thomas Angelo, sir.
For me, this is what Mafia did 100% right back in 2020. And honestly, having played it myself recently and having played loads of other games throughout the years, for me it might still be unmatched even in 2025. You see, if you played it, you already know it. This isn't your typical rise to the top crime story. It's not just about power or building an empire. This is a guy, he's very relatable, he's very charismatic, he's very real life, with real life issues, and that's the kind of guy Tommy Angelo is. And he's a guy who stumbles into the mob life by accident.
Compensation for your services, any damage to your car. This makes us square. Don Salieri wants you to know that he's very grateful. So if you ever need anything, maybe a loan or some honest work, don't hesitate to ask.
Our guy here, he's just an ordinary cab driver, going about his business, trying to survive, and hey, who can't relate to that? Everybody has a story like that. But then he suddenly finds himself shaking hands with gangsters. Well, I guess this is where the story takes a different turn from that of ordinary people and ordinary life. And this is what makes it also damn exciting. And from that moment on, he's stuck between loyalty, survival, and of course the inevitable fall that every gangster story demands. And for me, that's what it makes it so different. It's not just about the action, which is really good, but it's a very intense story and it's so character driven. The writing is sharp, the performance is stellar, and every moment feels like it matters. The scenes for me, they are like a movie, so you have to pop out that popcorn and sit back and enjoy.
You wanna go dancing this weekend? Maybe drop the kid off at your pop's place. Yeah, I'm still here. Oh, Christ. Hey! Stop! No, no, no.
Oh, God! Honey, what's going on?
Pick up. Vinny. It all went bad.
Hey, pull it together, Tom. Whatever happened, happened. There's nothing you can do about it now. Sergio's luck is running out.
What are you talking about?
Sam and Paulie have found him. He's in Georgie's restaurant across town. You need to get over there fast.
Okay.
Even the small scenes when Paulie is cracking jokes or Sam is giving you that knowing look, they all build up to something bigger. And by the end, it all comes together, and that is what makes the whole story so great. But sure, we are asking ourselves the question, how does it compare to nowadays games? How does it compare to 2025 standards? Well, games today, they give you maybe more of a choice. Branching paths, moral decisions, dialogue trees. But hey, here's the thing. Sometimes, and very much so in this case, knowing exactly where a story is going will make it stronger. There is no good ending here, there aren't any alternative paths, it's just this story. It's just one ride from start to finish, and that makes every decision Tommy makes feel heavy, and it's what it makes the story so impactful. And that is exactly why it still works. Even in 2025, where games are bigger, more complex, more interactive, Mafia DE proves that sometimes all you need is a damn good story told the right way. Instead of branching into various possible storylines and different endings, this one drives the main story through, and man does it do it in a big way. So in my opinion, the story is fire, no debate there. But what really makes it stick? What makes the story so compelling, so rich? And for me, what really stuck out is the rich cast of characters. It's Tommy, it's Paulie, it's Sam, Don Salieri. These aren't just names in a cutscene, they are real people, they have real lives, they have real issues. I always remember watching the cutscenes, they felt like real people to me. And having played it 5 years later, I still feel the same. It's their voices, it's their mannerisms, the way they talk, joked and, schemed, all the things they do. For example, take Paulie. I remember well at first, I didn't like that guy at all. He's a loudmouth, always running his mouth, cracking his wise jokes. But there's something deeper under that as well. He's not just the comic relief, he's got dreams, he's got frustrations, he's got ambitions. And for me, that really rang a bell.
I don't know what it's like for you going home to your wife and kid, but that's why I'm doing this. Who's gonna marry me? Nearly 40 years old and nothing to show for it but my rap sheet. Christ. I'm ready to punch my ticket right now. We sit around for 6 months, just playing cards and busting balls, and I start to get lazy. Then everything blows up and I gotta knock the rust off or I'm dead. One day I'm fighting to stay awake while the Don's telling us a story about the old days. One I've already heard 100 times, and the next day I'm getting shot at, trying to keep from shitting my pants.
It's something very relatable, and it's also, as time went on, I felt that I was rooting for him, I was feeling for him, especially when things were going south. And then of course there is Sam. He's the cool, composed one, and at first you think he's just a reliable guy, he's a steady hand in all of this. But the more you play, the more you realize, well, now there is something off, there is something else going on with this guy. He's a little too careful, a little bit too calculating. And man, by the time it all unravels, it really hurts. And then of course we have Don Salieri. I guess he's the guy, what you see is what you get. He's what you would expect from a Don. He's the classic old school mob boss. Respect, loyalty and honor.
He's not going to be able to think straight for weeks. See, that's the difference between me and Merlo. I'm a businessman. I do everything with this. Every decision I make, it's what's good for the business and my boys. But Morella is a hothead, and all that anger burns out the brain. And when he gets mad, he gets stupid.
But as you see more of him, when you get a glimpse into his character and you spend enough time in his world, you start to wonder, is he really the father figure Tommy thinks he is? Or is he just another guy using people until they're no longer useful? And having said all that, let's see what we've got from gaming in 2025. We have character performance which are insane. We are talking motion captured micro expressions, AI driven dialogue, hyper-realistic voice acting, and the list goes on and on. But here's the main difference. Mafia didn't need all that. The characters worked so well because they were written well. They felt, and still in 2025, they feel like real people to me, with their funny sides, their glorious moments, their tragedies and their insecurities. In that sense, they were a lot like you and me, and that made them so approachable and gave you that feeling like, well, here's a guy I could really find myself liking, instead of those nowadays mission givers or side characters, which you will gladly forget after a cutscene. So yeah, 5 years later, these characters, they still hold up. No need for AI dialogue trees, just damn good writing, damn good acting, and a world that makes you wish you lived in that era. But hey, of course, great characters only shine if the world they live in feels real as well. And that brings us to the next big question. Does Mafia DE still look as great as it did back in 2020? Let's talk about this next. So it has got a killer story and it has its characters nailed. But let's be real, none of that will work if the world around them looks like crap. Back in 2020 I was so impressed with the rich world and the beautiful graphics and rich spectre of details in which the story was unfolding and where the characters were running around in. But we really need to ask ourselves this: how does Mafia DE visuals hold up in 2025? Honestly, still damn good. Back in 2020, Hangar 30 rebuilt this game from the ground up, and you can really tell that they poured love into every corner and every detail, every car, every road and every building. There is the lighting, there is the weather effects, the way neon signs glow in the rain. It all creates this perfect mix of cinematics and lived-in world. It's not just the big details either. I would argue it's in the small things that makes this world so visually appealing. There is so much little stuff going on, it really sometimes felt like I was walking on the street myself. The streets, they feel grimy, the buildings, they have history, they have loads of little touches, like steam is rising from the sewers, there are cars honking, people making chit chat, and there's the paper boy announcing the news of the day. And for me, all this makes Lost Heaven feel like a place that is alive and not just a backdrop. Now okay, how does this stack up against 2025's best games? In all honesty, I don't think they can compete with that, but they did a hell of a job with the tools they had back in 2020, and a lot of stuff that is going on in that game still works today. But yeah, these days we've got real-time ray tracing, we've got those next-gen character models, we've got those cities packed with AI-driven NPCs. And to compare that with Lost Heaven's world, you can feel that it is a little bit stiff. There are fewer pedestrians, the interiors are more simpler, and yeah, some animations are a bit clunky compared to now. So yeah, maybe it doesn't have that insane fidelity which modern games have, but it still looks incredible, and most importantly, it still feels right. And in the end, that's what really matters. You have to be able to open yourself up, to believe in what you are seeing and what you are feeling in order to really immerse yourself into a game. And that is something that it did great. And speaking of feel, there is one thing Mafia does differently from most open world games: the cars. And that's where we're headed next. The driving in Mafia 1 isn't just a mode of transportation. It's much more than that. It's an immersive experience that places you directly into the 1930s. You will have the opportunity to drive around in all those amazing cars, and as a backdrop you have that majestic city of lost heaven, which gives you the feeling you're experiencing a life from times long gone. And sure, that's a great thing, that's a great feeling, but in 2025, how does this driving hold up against other open world driving games? Is there another game that offers that sweet driving in that gorgeous 1930s backdrop? Actually, it appears it is slim pickings. Keeping in mind that we are comparing this game with recently released games using the latest developments, you'll find that there aren't that many contenders. When it comes to crime and open world cities and driving, Mafia Definite Edition and Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy, the Definite Edition, they seem like a perfect mirror of each other, though they are set in a very different world. There is much to be said that these games are quite alike, as both games immerse you in the gritty criminal underworld, but for me there's a big difference. As GTA leads into fast-paced chaos and modern vehicles, Mafia takes a more deliberate approach, as it places you in the 1930s with period-accurate cars and a more story-driven experience. I feel that GTA offers more of an arcade-like experience with massive free-roaming fun, as Mafia focuses more on narrative depth, where every drive feels tied to the era and to the story. In short, Mafia offers a deeper historical experience, and GTA is all about fast cars and wild adventures. Okay then, another example. We have Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. This game was released in 2024. Now in this game we have a one-on-one recreation of Hong Kong Island, and one could argue it is something along the lines of what Mafia offers with the city of Lost Heaven. And it offers a massive open world environment for players to explore. And sure, it also emphasizes free roaming, which is a thing we also see back in Mafia. But it lacks any deep narrative, such as the one that defines the Mafia series. So, in conclusion, while other games like Grand Theft Auto and Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown offer expensive open world driving experiences, Mafia DE stands out by blending a rich and a crime-driven narrative with that authentic 1930s setting. And all this combined provides a unique and immersive experience that in my opinion remains unparalleled in 2025. So for those seeking an authentic 1930s experience in 2025, one with a rich story and lots of variety, the go-to place still is Mafia. In Mafia there's a lot of shooting and combat going on, and when it comes to combat in Mafia, it's a mix of tense shootout and classic mobster style pop out, shoot, duck and repeat kind of action. And how does all this hold up in 2025 compared to other games? I was looking at games which have been released recently and which are set in the same era. And I found that a game like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which was released in 2024, does match that criteria that it is set in the same era. But when we look at its combat and its combat mechanics, they are way more restrained. So it seems to me that there isn't really a game out there at this moment which can compare to what Mafia has to offer. I really feel that the gunplay in Mafia is intense and really feels grounded in the 1930s. But I do have to agree that the shooting mechanics are a bit clunky by today's standards, but they come with a sense of immersion. So you won't have that smooth, intuitive aiming from newer shooters like Sniper Elite 5 or Call of Duty Modern Warfare Part 3, but for me that's part of the charm. It's not just about the precision. For me it's more about that gritty and desperate feeling of being a mobster and having those unexpected twists and turns which throw you in utter chaos at any time. And yeah, Mafia's mechanics might feel a bit stiff compared to these modern shooters. But what it does well is that it captures the spirit of mob warfare. As opposed to most modern titles, in Mafia you're not a super soldier, you're just a regular guy fighting for survival. And that slow, deliberate pacing makes each firefight feel earned and very intense. A game that might come close with what you experience when you are playing Mafia might be Hitman 3, albeit that it offers a more fluid and tactical combat than Mafia does. And again, to me it seems that Mafia's combat is more methodical and immersive, while games like Hitman focus more on fluidity and speed. It's obvious Mafia's combat may be a little bit outdated, but it feels exactly how it's meant to be, even in 2025. While playing the game, I really get that feeling like I'm in a messy mob shootout back in the 30s. And in the end, that is a feeling that you want from any game. When you think of the world of Mafia, it being an open one isn't the first thing that comes to mind. Lost Heaven is a city in which you do have some freedom to walk around or drive around as you please, but it's not a playground like GTA or Watch Dogs Legion is. The world is more of a stage for the story. It's detailed, immersive, but in the end it's tightly controlled. Don't get me wrong, it's alive, but it's not there for distractions. You've got places to visit, people shouting out, sounds and music around you, there's loads of streets you can drive down, but the focus always stays on the narrative. And this again is where Mafia really stands apart. In GTA or for example Watch Dogs, the world is yours to mess around in. Just go your way, steal cars, pick fights, create mayhem, do whatever you want. But Mafia, it isn't about that. You could do some of that stuff, but in the end the city exists to serve the story, and that is a deliberate choice. But having made this choice, it also means the world can feel a little bit empty. It nails that atmosphere, but I can't help but wish there was just a little bit more. More side missions, more interactivity, just more content to fill up the game other than the main story. And it's really quite an immersive game, but that is because the story is so good and the city is such a great place to traverse through. But in all honesty, when compared to today's open world games, it can feel quite limited. But even so, it's a joy to play this game, because in the end, Mafia's world works because it is focused. It's more about the quality of the main story and not about the quantity with side missions or other distractions. But in an era where open world games keep getting bigger and more dense, Mafia feels a bit like a relic. One that's still great, but maybe missing a bit of that modern spice. So during this video we talked about different elements of the game. So let's have a quick recap of what our conclusions and findings were and how that compares to the main question. And that is, how does Mafia Definitive Edition hold up nowadays in 2025 and the years to come? So we have the story, we have the strong characters, we have the strong atmosphere, and that is one of the main strengths of this game. And compared to other titles in 2025, it's still top tier.
Less down, Tom. You made us all a lot of money today. And Morello's gonna be picking up pennies off the sidewalk for weeks.
Hey, what about the European?
He's probably wearing cement boots by now, the poor bastard. Here, you earned every dollar of this. Take your girl out somewhere nice.
Thanks, boss.
Wake up, boys.
You got a girl, right? I don't want you blowing all that on booze and whores.
Something, huh? Cheers.
Nah, but maybe I'll buy my mom a new coat.
Good boy. Go get yourself a drink.
And then there is the gameplay, which isn't as fast or flashy as in newer games, but that slower cinematic pace is something that makes it really special and makes it stand out from the crowd. And that is still the case in 2025. And what about the world? Does it hold up? Absolutely. It's not trying to be a massive open world playground, it's telling a story, and that it does damn well. So, in conclusion, Mafia is like a ripe wine. It has aged well with time and is still a very special vintage to experience in 2025. And hey, if you love crime stories, one with loads of content and variation, and on top of that great 1930s setting, Mafia is still a must play, as it is one of the few games out there that still can hold its own in 2025, 5 years after its release. So that's it for Mafia 1 Definite Edition. If you're hooked, check out my full playthrough on the channel. Have you played it yourself, or are you thinking about it? Then drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about this game and let me know your thoughts about my review. And don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell. Thanks again and see you the next time.